Tonight you represented the state of Tennessee. It's taken 47 years to get it back in Knoxville, Tennessee, but tonight you got the national championship. Hip, hip, hooray!
January 1, 1990, Dallas, Texas. On the sacred ground of the historic Cotton Bowl, the champions from the Southeastern Conference stood ready for battle. They all dreamed the dream that brought them to this battleground. They were the best and hoped to prove it. They had a desire to carry on one of college football's great traditions. No one knew on that day, but they were writing the first chapter of our story.
What time is it? You know, it's football time in Tennessee.
Kelly back to throw, throws the ball into the end zone, give him 6. To the 10, to the 5, touchdown, Pickens! And Bergdorf is blasted. It was Leonard Little.
Alabama coming with 3 down linemen. Manning throwing the ball deep down into the end zone. Touchdown! Final score, Tennessee 20, Florida 17.
Tennessee had scratched, clawed, and fought its way to become champions of this conference. But lining up across the fabled Cotton Bowl turf were the Arkansas Razorbacks, champions in their own right of the Southwest Conference. 2 teams, 1 dream. The war was on. Blasting out from behind its huge offensive line, the Razorbacks were able to march the ball early against the Volunteers, but the defense was stingy when it mattered most. Suddenly, a speedy and immensely talented freshman defender stepped up to make a play. It was just one of many plays that would make Carl Pickens the defensive MVP of the game. But stop the tape. This should give you an idea of the talent UT produced during the decade of dominance. Carl Pickens eventually became one of the most legendary offensive players in Vol history. So if such a spectacular offensive threat was the defensive MVP, who on earth earned Offensive Player of the Game honors?
And if I remember correctly, I think a running back by the name of Chuck Webb had a pretty decent day that day.
Still on his feet to the 24-yard line. Chuck Webb.
Down 6-3, Tennessee seized command in the second quarter, riding the huge shoulders of Chuck Webb.
Webb will carry the ball. He will dive. And what did he do? He scored for the Volunteers.
Then, first-year offensive coordinator Philip Fulmer detected a weakness in the Hog secondary. After a brilliant play-action fake, quarterback Andy Kelly uncorked a bomb to speedster Anthony Morgan.
Complete at the 40, 35-30, 25-20, 15-10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Razorbacks were staggering.
And here comes Chuck Webb.
To protect the lead, Tennessee went to the ground game. In other words, it went to what had become Arkansas's worst nightmare.
Corner to the 20, cuts up to the 25, gets outside to the 30, to the 35, to the 40, to the 45, to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, to the 30, to the 25, to the 20, to the 15, to the 10, to the 5. He goes all the way.
When the dust had settled, Chuck Webb rushed for a staggering 250 yards. The decade of dominance had been ushered in on the powerful legs of number 44. Tennessee won 31-27. It was the 600th win for the Volunteer program. Head coach Johnny Majors was pleased with the direction of his program. It was a sweet victory that would be a harbinger of things to come.
That's a great way to send out the first 99 years, and what a terrific send-off for our 100th birthday in 1990. And Tennessee.
If there was one aspect that changed the face of Tennessee football in the 90s, it was the emergence of great leaders who lined up behind the center. Andy Kelly, the pride of Ray County, found himself at the dawn of the decade right where he always wanted to be.
Kelly off play action to throw.
When I was real little, everybody asked me, what are you going to do when you grow up, Andy? And my answer was always, I'm going to play quarterback for Tennessee.
Kelly lived the dream, winning back-to-back SEC championships. Kelly's best asset, his unflinching ability to find a way to win.
I just remember that Andy had this amazing ability to win football games, that you never thought you were out of a game with Andy Kelly.
Watching Kelly's senior season from the sidelines was a young gun with wheels and a rocket arm to boot. His name was Heath Shuler. Shuler threw for over 1,700 yards in his first year of active duty.
Touchdown, Big Orange!
He blossomed into an all-conference quarterback in 1993. Shuler's best asset? He was a marvelous athlete. Many times the play went from bad to brilliant in the blink of an eye. Shuler wasn't the only all-conference quarterback of the decade, but he was the first. Peyton Manning didn't know he was next, but when the challenge presented itself, he was ready.
Here comes Peyton Manning, making his entry as a quarterback for the University of Tennessee.
He started 4 years and became one of the most prolific passers college football ever produced. By the end of his career, he owned nearly every school and conference record. So popular was Manning, the route the Volunteers take to the stadium each game day in Knoxville was renamed Peyton Manning Pass.
Every time I'm back in Knoxville, I always drive by just to make sure the street's in good shape.
It would seem difficult to continue the impressive run of quarterbacks, but T. Martin wasn't about to let the lineage end. He waited 2 years in the wings behind Manning. When Manning moved on to the NFL, T. Martin got his chance. All he did was lead Tennessee to a national title. He finished his career 22-3 as a starter and showed Philip Fulmer and Peyton Manning that they weren't the only Vols to put their names on the map, literally. Andy Kelly was clearly established as Tennessee's starting quarterback when the Vols opened the first season of the decade in the Disneyland Pigskin Classic. While host Mickey Mouse drew the crowd's attention, the Volunteers' gaze rested on the Buffaloes of Colorado. This was the start of the program's 100 Years of Volunteers celebration, and Chuck Webb picked up where he left off in year 99. But Colorado had a response to the presence of Webb. The Buffaloes unleashed a hard-charging ground attack of their own. It was a tough indoctrination for Larry Lacewell, who was facing his first test as Tennessee's new defensive coordinator.
Go ahead and fight him, Block. Go ahead and fight him.
Unlike previous defensive coordinators, Lacewell lined up the Vols with 4 down linemen in front of 3 linebackers. The alignment is commonplace today, but in 1990 it was revolutionary. Though many SEC schools used the 4-3 by decades in, Tennessee was the first. It was a baptism by fire for this new style defense, and the Vols fell behind 14 points to the Buffaloes. This edition of the Volunteers was stocked on offense, and it refused to give in to the eventual national champions. Wide receiver Alvin Harper sparked a comeback on a TD pass from Andy Kelly. Sophomore Carl Pickens refused to be outdone. Tennessee tied the game on a Chuck Webb plunge, and the comeback was nearly complete.
Touchdown, Charles Webb!
The Vols scored 21 points in just 10 minutes. Time ran out on the Vols and on Chuck Webb's final run of the day. Tennessee battled Colorado to a 31-all tie. It was a classic thriller that was but a hint of the excitement to come. Standing toe-to-toe with the Buffaloes put a swagger in the Vols' step going into the home opener against Pacific.
Touchdown, Chuck Webb!
That swagger quickly turned to a limp as the hopes riding on the back of number 44 were quickly dashed. Sophomore Chuck Webb went down with a career-ending knee injury.
Now it will be Webb limping off the football field to the near side.
Webb had told everybody that he'd never be carried off a football field. And so when he got hurt, we thought maybe, well, he just rolled his ankle or perhaps he had pulled a muscle.
Tennessee won the game but lost a phenomenal tailback.
Chuck Webb was as talented or more talented than any running back Tennessee's ever had. But he was always kind of a mystery. He was just an amazing character, but when he got the football, he could really do a lot of magical things with it.
There's an old saying at Tennessee, those who stay will play.
And Tony Thompson was one of those guys. He just kept staying around and staying around.
When Tennessee traveled to Mississippi State, Thompson was finally the man.
Hand off Thompson, big hole up the middle, breaks it to the 35, to the 40.
Who says you can't measure heart? Under the blazing Mississippi sun, Thompson earned every hard-fought inch of his 248 yards.
He scored! for the Big Orange. All the way. What a move. Tony Thompson, touchdown, Big Orange.
Thompson's runs of 69 and 80 yards proved he could carry the load. But an ensuing play was about a load getting the carry.
To the 25, to the 20, to the 15, to the 10. Who's got the ball? Bernard.
Former offensive lineman Philip Fulmer was more than happy to make the call. Tennessee beat the Bulldogs 40-7. Only Chuck Webb had ever rushed for more yards in a game than Thompson did that day.
It was an amazing story because you like to see great guys be able to get one of those Cinderella stories.
From there, Tennessee ventured into the charged atmosphere of Jordan-Hare Stadium to take on the SEC's team of the 80s, the Auburn Tigers. With a tie, the only blemish on the Vol record, Tennessee came out razor sharp. With a 3-point lead, Andy Kelly found Alvin Harper just behind the secondary.
Down and out, the pass is complete, pull down at the 40, to the 45, up to the 50. He turns it on to the 45, to the 40, to the 35.
The 82-yard strike was the second longest in Tennessee history.
To the 10, to the 5, to the 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Tigers roared back to score 17 unanswered points, and suddenly the game was tied at 26. All hearts stopped as Tennessee lined up for a game-winning field goal.
No good. No good.
And that game really felt like a loss. I mean, the game was tied, and we're walking off the field, getting stuff thrown all over us, and the Auburn crowd is going nuts with a tie.
Just 5 games into the season, Tennessee had experienced 2 of the most thrilling and disappointing ties of all time. But disappointment would turn to elation soon enough. This was the seminal moment of what would become the SEC's great rivalry, Tennessee, Florida. Just the words boiled the blood of anyone from Knoxville to Gainesville, and this night started it all.
The crowd comes alive. The Volunteers are ready. It's time, ladies and gentlemen. It's football time in Tennessee.
An enthused crowd of 97,000 welcomed the Gators the only way Neyland Stadium can.
I always want to look into the eyes of the opposition and see what they're thinking, because you got to be intimidated by it. It's a terrific thing.
Rule number 1 in kickoff returns, never field a kick destined to go out of bounds. Thank goodness Dale Carter never read rule number 1.
To the 40, to the 45, to the 50, cutting to the far sideline, down to the 45, to the 40, 35-30. Is there a flag on the play? I don't see one. 15, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown!
The Carter return opened an orange-colored floodgate. Tony Thompson scored from 23, and tight end Von Rees passed for a 47-yard touchdown to Carl Pickens. The defense added to the scoring and kept the Florida Gators out of the end zone.
Number 18, Dale Carter.
This was the breakout game for Dale Carter. In addition to his kick return, the sticky-fingered junior reeled in 2 interceptions. When the smoke settled, Tennessee scored 38 unanswered points in the second half and crushed the Gators 45-3. The game, featuring the 9th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers against the top-ranked Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, was 1990's toughest ticket.
In football time in Tennessee.
It was a scalper's dream outside the gates and an NFL scout's fantasy inside. The Irish took the field with names like Rocket Ishmael, Jerome Bettis, and Ricky Waters. Matching name for name, Tennessee suited up Carl Pickens, Alvin Harper, and Dale Carter. This game was a marvelous display of talent. Tennessee opened the third quarter and took the lead on Tony Thompson's determined 10-yard run. Ricky Waters countered with 66, and Notre Dame was back in front.
Throws the ball deep into the end zone. It is touchdown, Tennessee!
Andy Kelly was in the midst of his greatest night in a Volunteer uniform when he hit Alvin Harper to take back the lead 20-17. The Vols were outscored in the fourth quarter 17-9 when Rocket Ishmael scored from the 44. The party appeared to be over, but Andy Kelly refused to turn out the light.
Kelly back to throw, looking into the end zone. Man is there. Touchdown, Big Orange.
Carl Pickens recovered an onside kick, and the Volunteers, down by only 5, were still alive. The Vols moved downfield with determination, and with time running out, Kelly went for the win. Andy Kelly's valiant effort fell short.
When that ball left the hands of Andy Kelly, you felt that Tennessee was going to win that game somehow. But that's the way you always felt with Kelly.
He completed 35 of 60 passes for 399 yards, all UT records.
For the most part, that was probably one of my best games that I ever played at Tennessee. But then that last play is one of the most disappointing plays that I ever had in my Tennessee career, the last interception.
The game has become a college football classic.
To throw, looking, long pass downfield. The man is there. The pass is going to be complete. Tennessee 20, 15, 10, 5.
An SEC championship still beckoned, and Tennessee finished the season in style against Ole Miss, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt.
Kelly back to throw across the middle into the end zone.
The victory against the Commodores sealed the Volunteers' second consecutive SEC championship. Tony Thompson scored 4 touchdowns and rushed for 236 yards against Vandy. He gained 1,261 yards that year. Many Vol fans would be surprised to learn that in spite of all the talented running backs the decade produced, only Thompson earned the first-team All-Conference honor. The 1990 season came to a close on January 1st in New Orleans against former #1 Virginia. Tennessee spotted the Cavs 16 points before the blocking of guys like Charles McRae, Anton Davis, and Tom Meslinski began to open holes on the Sugar Bowl turf. With less than a minute to go in the game, Tennessee got the ball, trailing by 5. Andy Kelly engineered another show-stopping drive. In the fourth quarter, he completed 14 of 18 passes and finally wrestled away the lead.
The quarterback is Kelly. The score 22-17. The dive, touchdown! Big Orange in the Superdome.
It was Tennessee's first lead in the game.
As Tennessee comes from behind.
1990 was in the record book. An SEC championship and a 9-2-2 record against one of the nation's most difficult schedules were points of pride for the Vols. The final AP poll placed Tennessee at number 8. Just a few months later, 3 squad members, Alvin Harper, Anton Davis, and Charles McRae, would be selected in the first round of the NFL draft.